Hi Lee, how are you?
Hey, fine. Hey, good. Oh yeah. I was just practicing. Well, I was just practicing Michael's name, which, which Michael, you might be proud of me. We'll see. I'll give it a shot. I'll say good evening, Michu.
Yeah, this is really good. Really good.
Okay. I thought I
like
had
that.
the.
This is the this is the sort of like the name I like most because it's the dialect and call name, and this is sort of like this is really local where I come from. So this is good. I like that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's actually Michu.
Yeah.
That's pretty okay.
Yeah.
By the way, you said Sweden is is if I remember
No.
correctly.
No, Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland. Okay.
Switzerland.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. So it's actually even more. It's mich. It's really sort of with this sound, but
Is it,
it's really nice how you pronounce it. It's really nice.
Oh, thanks.
I like that. Very nice.
Not if you screwed up enough times, you eventually it comes around, I guess.
Miku, how to pronounce your full name?
You mean the second name as well?
Yes.
Michu Gfeuer in my dialect. Yes. Michu Gfeuer.
Miku Feller.
Gfeuer.
I leave you.
Comes.
I'm stopping while I'm ahead, and I'm.
So,
Michael.
I think you said you are from.
Like.
And everything I try to watch tennis player. So their names are starting with VIC from Serbian, and also Switzerland people. They have the same spelling, but they have very difficult pronunciation. I really struggle to pronounce some names about Switzerland people. But I really try to pronounce. It's a Roger Federer. It's the correct way of pronouncing it. Roger Federer.
Yeah. Who is that?
He's a number one tennis player worldwide, and right now I think he retired. But he's one of the greatest legendary player of tennis. He won so many Grand. I think they break some records of winning Grand Slam. So I asked Nico, that's Roger Federer is the correct way of pronouncing it.
Hi, everyone.
Morning.
This is Adiola.
Good morning. Oh, actually, Adiola, it is. You're like the only one on here who it's appropriate to say good morning to. So this is
yeah.
top of the morning to you.
Yeah, morning.
Well, by the way, Miku is. You said you're in Norway at the moment, or you've been living in Norway for a bit?
Yes, Miku left the meeting.
Oh no! Oh, he dropped off. Okay, fair enough. All right, fair enough. Actually, we're 5 minutes over.
Lee, just say one thing. There's a CNCF Slack channel is currently right now is on for everyone to join. So I am really joined that channel. So I am dragging people around our service mesh things that we're currently doing. So I need some more people to join that from a Layer5 so we can represent our community in that in a great way. So it's free to everyone for join, and it's have a Kubernetes service mesh and channel right now. Service mesh con and cubes likes what the we are doing. There's a plenty of channel out there. So I think some more folks are joined from Layer 5, so we can represent our community in the next week and in these days, Saturday, Sunday.
Totally. Yep. We absolutely should. That's a good call out. Let's make a take a note about that.
Just throwing a link. Just throwing a link in the chat. So you can join that.
Cool. Good deal. Okay. Well, so Bhuvnesh, how are you? Bhuvnesh, it's been a while since we've gotten to verbally talk. So
Hey, Lee, I'm good. How are you?
You're not looking. I mean, the beard looks good, but it's not quite as distinguished as mine. Like you got to get some white going on in there.
I got to take care of it. It's just been, like in my cave.
I'm sure. Sure. Yeah. No. It's a good thing. Well. There's a reason why. There's very few reasons why my wife decided to marry me, but I think one of them is she doesn't mind freckles, which is great, and then also I think she doesn't mind the white that seems to be like that's just taking over my face. So anyway, I like to think of it as distinguished. It's wisdom just sort of coming out. It's Michu has he's quite distinguished as well. So. Anyway, Bhuvnesh, I wanted to say, hey, thanks for coming. Everyone that joins for the first time gets to introduce a little bit, just so that others can get to know you. You know, say hi and if you would.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Thanks for making me a part of this community, and I'm very excited about Lee's initiative about this product and how things are going. I'm just catching up. Like I worked with Lee like maybe 10 years, 11 years ago. And I've been like juggling things between like networking, infrastructure, and I kind of picked up the full stack, like the JavaScript bandwagon sometime in 2013, and been working on like Node.js stuff, Angular, little bit of React, and I like infrastructure a lot. Like I have a background in networking and I think telecom days where we had voice over IP stuff going on. So I like to like do open source stuff. Like I enjoy Docker a lot, Ansible, and so those kind of things. I'm catching up with service meshes. I really have not too much of an exposure to it, but I think it's the right thing to do for like the way things are going. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I couldn't. That last bit, like, I think it's an inevitability that the more services that people run, like, hey, the more ubiquitous service meshes will become. So it takes people a while, though. It took people a while to kind of get into Docker and do Docker, and then a while to get to Kubernetes, and this networking stuff is even harder for a lot of people. It's in part what I'm hoping some of the initiatives that we have here will help in general, like help make service meshes easier for people. Yeah, no, this is good. Yeah, last time we spoke, it was like 2 kids ago, I think, if you can measure it by
Yeah, just trying to catch up. Their school has started, and I think everybody's going through that same cycle. The kids will go to the school and how everything will work out. So it's an experiment.
We did. We started school yesterday here, and all 3 of our kids are doing it from home, which means that my wife may or may not have hair by the end of the month. I think she's. Turns out it's a full-time job now. She's a a teacher at this point.
Yep.
Nice. Good. Okay. Well, let's jump into the meeting minutes if we can. So I think most everyone here is aware that, like, hey, I do what I can to try to type and talk at the same time, and I can barely do that. So please help take notes, or if you have topics you want to talk about, please drop them in. Also slap your name into the meeting minutes. And usually on the Friday call, we end up talking about things in the ecosystem in general. Also specific initiatives that all of you are working on. And so we've had a number of folks join this week, which is fantastic. Some of whom you might ring a bell for some of you, some of whom you'll end up hopefully working with a little bit. So just to the extent that you end up bumping into these folks, Ronald is a tech reviewer of one of the books that I'm authoring at the moment. So he's getting hip deep, I think, in service mesh land. Nice guy. Not all of these folks do I have a story for, but Javier has been making some waves in the community and doing lots of contributions. And then these three fine gentlemen are maintainers of Mawson, which is a Golang based service proxy that you can use as the data plane instead of Envoy in an Istio deployment. So there's a deployment style in which their proxy can displace Envoys. Kind of interesting. That's been done a few times. One time was with Engine Mesh. Another time was with Citrix. They had recently announced the ability to run CPX instead of Envoy. It's kind of interesting. And hence that's why we built out the adapter for the Citrix service mesh. Sandeep joined this week. Sandeep is from Walmart Labs. He was, I think, part of the Torbit. I don't know if he was part of the Torbit acquisition, but he works with Torbit. And he's got some really interesting use cases for us to potentially help him with, about traffic redirection, traffic introspection. If you look up Torbit, you will get a sense of what I'm talking about. So Torbit. Anyway, the next announcement up, if Nikhil is on, Nikhil has something to share.
Yeah. Is my voice clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I recently won the Red Open Source contest. Actually, recently yesterday only. It was supposed to be a 2-month long contest, but due to the pandemic this year, it extended up to 4 months. Though I was not participating or not contributing up to 4 months, considering my internship and other things. So when I had a talk with the mentor, and she also agreed that it doesn't require us to do the build performance, as I've contributed enough. As she knows that I was also doing my internship at it, so I might be busy.
Nice.
So yeah. Actually, in this contest, there's basically a Excel sheet shared with the contestants before registration. So, in which contains various projects which has some open issues or features that need to be implemented. People can select their own project and assign to it. After that, the mentor will contact them and they can work on it. So basically, I chose a project which was a notes app, which can be a mobile application as well as a web app. So it ran using the Cordova framework, which is something new which I
So Nikhil,
used in this.
you're not sharing, are you? Or did you want to share? Or
Yeah, I was going to.
oh, okay, great, nice. So the story is that so Nikhil is interning at Red Hat at the moment and ended up participating in an open source contest, and his project was selected. Like he's won the contest. So this is the project.
So yeah, so it's not something very big or hard like that. It's a simple notes app which we can use to keep track of different notes. Which previously, before me joining or starting contributing to it, it was a simple one with like there wasn't something feature like these multiple list or something. There was add button which would open a similar kind of input box like in this one, and it would have added the list over there. So after me starting to contribute in it, I implemented a database backend file database system, which was a bit of difficult task considering it should be available for both the web app and the Android. So as far as my research for the Android version, only SQLite database works up till now. So that is not available for the browser. So I did a bit of research which my mentor guided me to clear it out. So we came up with NSQL, compact or you can say combined library through which we can, which is a combination of web index SQL and SQLite to create a database. And it automatically switches between SQLite in an Android environment to web indexed SQL for a web browser. So we can create notes, we can edit them, and we can also delete them. There were other tasks which would have been done, like adding an option over on the right hand side where we can add attachments to the node itself, like photos or audios, so that it may improve a bit. So this whole app is built using HTML, CSS, and jQuery as the language for the backend part. Yeah, that's it. The Actually the dialog part which comes over here in the top for reading, it's kind of weird because it's coming in the alert, but for the mobile part it comes as a dialog on the middle of the screen like a modal which asks for the permission. So I took some ideas from the Google Keep app to do the UX part. Like on clicking a new note, we shouldn't just see a blank screen. It should automatically focus on the keyboard part to enter the note. So the user won't have to do some extra effort to go and click on it and do it. And if on some reason he wants to delete it, then he can go ahead and do it.
Pretty cool, Nikhil. I can see why they chose your project. Yeah, it's neat.
To be honest, I didn't do this. Actually, I don't know what other people did or did because there was no previous years. They used to do a call or a video call meeting kind of thing where people used to demo their project. But this year, due to this pandemic situation, there was nothing like that, and we were asked to write a blog post in which you will share experience and share the link. So yes, I can do it. Even I have the LinkedIn itself, but I can share the link to my story, which I shared for it with them, considering my experience. This had all the features that I made uploaded in the project itself. Yeah, Manas Mijas was my mentor. She also works at Red Hat in the Bangalore office itself. So I actually met her in person when I joined the internship.
Oh, I see. And then a lot of your interaction has been virtual since then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it was only 2 weeks for which I could go to the office. After that, it was all COVID and COVID.
Oof. Wow. Nice. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. It's not every day that we're in a presence of of someone who's taken the, you know, took first prize. Gee.
Thank you.
Cool. Cool. Very cool. Okay. Oh, well, other topics, briefly. So next week, if there's a little less activity on the Layer5 Slack, that's probably because KubeCon is going on next week. So we're giving a couple of presentations, sort of 3 of us that are here in the community that have, or at least that I've been able to identify that are giving talks. And so Nitish Malhotra, he's not on the call currently, but there he's giving a talk about Istio and a bit of like trying to I think a way of kind of finagling multi-tenancy in Istio. And then myself and another contributor, Pratik, who's a graduate student here at UT Austin in town, gave a talk about measuring the overhead of a mesh, but not the whole mesh, just like specific functions of a mesh. So, and then this last one is an update in general about the CNCF SIG network, in which I've talked, I think I've mentioned this probably the last number of community calls, but we end up talking about some of your initiatives at KubeCon. So they'll be on display, if you will. So one of those is this initiative that Abhishek is going to demo today. And then another one is it's the service mesh. It's service mesh performance. We just renamed it from SMPS to SMP. But we're hopeful that that becomes something of an industry standard. I'm even more hopeful beyond that, that we will work with Pratik or a couple of other academics to develop an algorithm around a mesh mark, develop a unit of measure, a scale by which you can readily identify how well your service mesh is running in context of the value that you're deriving from it. So I've been holding off on iterating on an algorithm myself because I'm hopeful that it provides opportunity for other people to step in and make a mark, I guess I didn't mean to, that wasn't a pun intended there, but where people can leave their name on something. There's an opportunity. Lastly, we end up telling folks about the distributed performance analysis, which is our incorporation of Nighthawk, Envoy's load generator, into Meshry. Meshry supports 2 other load generators today. I'm sorry, wait a second. I'm not sharing my screen, am I? I'm not sharing the deck. You guys are all looking at, yeah, sorry. Well, we don't need to walk through the deck. The reason I've shown this, I think on this call before, the reason that I'm showing it again is because it's your work. We're putting your work up on display. So the distributed performance analysis is some work that's being championed by Kush here in the community. He's working with a couple of folks from Google on this. And this is a project that any of you are welcome to participate in as well. It's still a young project. But if you've used the performance tests inside of Meshery, you'll notice that you get this choice of what load generator you want to use, Fortio or WRK2. And I've been working on, well, my enunciation of various names of folks in the community, but also of the word Fortio, because, because the creator and maintainer of that project is French. And Kanishkar and I were giving a presentation at DockerCon 2020, about a month or so ago, or maybe it was a couple of months ago. And the creator of Fortio was at DockerCon watching our talk. And I was at the time saying, I was saying Fort.io. And I got a public correction about how to enunciate that. So anyway, so this is a decent talk. Some of you should be very proud that your work is on display in KubeCon. With that, Simon, did you want to say a couple of words about the CNCF Slack and sort of KubeCon itself?
Yes, thanks, Lee. Actually, this Slack channel dedicated for our new anyone to is a kind of a networking channel who doesn't need to participate, or it's a kind of a channel that has Prometheus, and every networking session you can go in that, talk us people about our projects, so people might know us, what we are doing, and some people who have interest in it, we can track them here in our Slack channel and kind to know them that we are doing the same work that you have got. So come us and join us. So these KubeCon sessions are when you're attending on the hall, they're going for a great networking sessions. And they CNCF are kind enough to know that, and they are now doing the same thing using Slack channel. So it's a great channel. I've just joined it in Thursday, last day, and I trying to figure out people's answering their questions, some of, and asking about people that we should join our Layer5 channel as well. So if anyone interesting, I throw in the chat session, the CNCF Slack workspace. So please join that channel, and we can start a networking session there, so people can figure out what are doing here, because it's a KubeCon or the events that is going to be a networking session and kind of gathering our community, building our strong relationship with others as well. So Lee, kind of the KubeCon session. If do we have any plan for the service mesh con as well or not? Right.
Nope. We'll just be in attendance. The Service Mesh Con is we spoke at the very first Service Mesh Con, kind of before it was called Service Mesh Day, and then since then, I was asked to be a program chair, but couldn't, and so we haven't spoke at the last couple of them, and we're not speaking at it again this go round. We'll see what happens with KubeCon Boston in a few months. But other than that, no, we don't. We're not sponsored. We are members of the CNCF, but we're not, paying for a marketing. We're not sponsoring KubeCon explicitly, so we don't have a virtual booth, or I'm not even sure what they're doing, but yeah, the Symes invite for all of you to be active in that community. It's like, absolutely do it. Like spread the word around, tell people about what you're working on, invite them over to this community. It's highly relevant for a lot of them. There's a number of folks that were either in the Kubernetes Slack or in the CNCF Slack that have come over to join the Layer5 Slack because they were focused on service meshes and they had a lot of questions about them. We want to try to be as helpful. We want to be the place that people come for help on this particular tech. They can get help, and they're relevant people with relevant experience sitting inside of the Kubernetes Slack or the CNCF Slack. But there really isn't like a single place for people to go to ask questions. As a matter of fact, the Istio Slack is closed, and so a lot of people actually ask that question, like, where can I go to ask questions about Istio? And so we'll commonly welcome them over here. So the more that happens, the more that we will have other people to just share and help. So nice. All right. Well, first topic up, Abhishek. You want to talk about these two items?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'd rather share my screen and then start with it.
I missed what you said, but I'll just give some quick background. That for those who've been paying attention, it was a week and a half ago, that Microsoft announced Open Service Mesh, a new service mesh largely focused and based on SMI, Service Mesh Interface, which is a quite timely announcement considering the work that a few of you have been doing on an SMI conformance tool. So there's been a lot of active work on the SMI conformance tool. And then there's also been a lot of active work on a mesh adapter for Open Service Mesh. And so Abhishek has been working on both of those along with some others. We thought that Abhishek might be able to demo either of the two of these today. So hopefully that helps, Abhishek. I'm not sure if that's what you would.
Yeah, that's pretty much the background. So basically, I've created a prototype of the Open Service Mesh adapter for meshing. I would just walk you through it, how exactly it's going to function. I'll share my screen. So, my screen share.
There it is.
Well, so yes, I'm running my adapter locally right now. I'm running the Meshery server as well here, and so let me start with importing the config. So that's my cluster that I've been running in remote, and I have my adapter running at port 10,010 locally, which is again up. Now we don't have a section for OSM yet, that is an Open Service Mesh yet on the management console, but for the time being, I'm gonna go ahead use any of the adapters management plane because it's all the same. So I've integrated a couple of features. The first one being the installation of the service mesh. So when you do an install, it shows you a notification of it being executed, and in the background, it does the whole installation part, basically to pull out the binary and then apply. So the binary is the Open Service Mesh their own command line, which is called OSM, and it has different ways. It helps you to perform different operations on the cluster. One of them being install command, which installs the service mesh itself on uh, the cluster. So right now, yeah, it says the mesh has been installed successfully, and you also get a notification here saying that it's deployed successfully. So let's cross verify that. So it gets installed in a namespace by default called OSM system, which here you can see that its components have been installed here, and also the OSM does an installation with Helm charts, as in it uses Helm to do the installation. So if you do a Helm list here, you'll be able to see the chart that has been deployed and running. So right now I've been using the latest version, that is 0.30, but in the future cases we'll be having an option. We'll be providing an option to the users here where you'll be typing in the version he wanted to install, and that'll get installed in the remote automatically. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the SMI conformance tool. So basically, if you want to test the conformance for Open Service Mesh here, then all you need to do is go here and then do a run SMI conformance test. What it does in background is that it it installs the SMI conformance tool, and it does a DRPC call to start the test inside the container, which you will be able to see in the machinery namespace. Uh, it shows you the whole logs of what exactly the test that has been running inside. So uh, as soon as right now it tests for three different test cases. That is, so let me give you a background of how the SMI conformance works. Basically, uh, we have three different applications deployed during runtime inside the cluster, and then we test for three different cases, which is traffic access, then split traffic case, and then traffic deny case. So this is how we do a conformance, as in uh, we check how conformant is this service mesh with the SMI service mesh interface. So once this test is once this test gets ended, we get the results back on the Meshery dashboard here as a notification again. So it would take a couple of minutes, but it's soon to come now. Yeah. Yeah. So we have the test results here, and as well as we would get it here, but right now we don't get the actual results. It's just a mock-up, uh, basically this one, and I will soon be pushing the changes for the actual results. That is, this results to be showing up in the dashboard here. And yeah, that's pretty much yeah. So I guess this is this gives you the in detail information on what the test ran, and then what are the results of our conformance. So yeah, that's more or less what I wanted to show you guys today. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, and we'll be soon working on the adapter to make it into beta.
Yeah, one of the so the more or less the last actually this might be about true. Like the last step to finish off there is just the bit where you know at the end when the test results come back and you were saying, hey, this part is a mock-up. There actually there is a bit of, more of a mock-up, and that's been implemented inside of Meshery. Let me share and make sure everyone's got that one, that everyone can give some feedback on what you demoed, but then two, have a little more context as to what's going on. So this topic that Abhishek just demoed, this is the topic of one of the KubeCon EU talks that we're giving next week. And it's about Meshery being used as a tool to sanctify, to to verify whether or not any given service mesh that claims to be SMI compatible is in fact SMI compatible or not. Now, today, if in general, when the general public wants to, get understanding as to which service meshes are SMI compatible, which ones are participating, I assume that they might start on the SMI spec.io. They'll come down here and they'll look at sort of ecosystem projects. Open Service Mesh went up pretty quickly. Meshery has been there from the launch of SMI last year, and so is kind of Layer5. What we had done though last October, not last October. Yeah, no, I guess it was last October. Wow, that feels like, anyway, it's about a year. And anyway, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, we identified the fact that, like, hey, as service meshes go to implement SMI, implement these specs, just like the 90 something distributions that exist for Kubernetes, of the 8 or so implementations of SMI, there needs to be a methodology and a mechanism to validate whether or not a given service mesh is SMI conformant. Same thing for, and then inherently, part of the effort that we're giving here is that people will, or individual service mesh projects will then own the right to carry around the SMI logo on their project to say that they are SMI compatible, in the same way that Kubernetes distributions can carry around the Kubernetes conformance logo, icon. So it had been some time in the making, but there'd finally been enough kind of interest and enough meshes coming out that are SMI compatible for us to go ahead and move forth on this project. And so stewarded by Naveen and Kanishkar, who are actually a community bridge intern and a GSOC intern that are here in the Layer5 community, worked on this quite a bit. And then Abhishek and Kush have worked on this quite a bit. And so this design spec is mostly complete. It needs, like, where the SMI community needs to come to bear on this a bit more is in the definition of what tests it is that Meshery is running. And these tests are written down in a human readable way here. The tests themselves, I guess they're still human readable, but they're described in YAML inside of Meshery. And so Meshery will, what Abhishek was just demoing, Meshery will run these tests and report back whether or not the specific service mesh is SMI compatible. Well, last Wednesday, when OSM, Open Service Mesh, announced that they are a mesh, Microsoft's pretty hot to trot on using Meshery to more or less sort of claim that they are officially, OSM, Open Service Mesh, is officially SMI compatible. And so we've been working with them a fair bit. So we're going to empower them now with the work that's been done to go validate SMI. So one of the things that will happen as part of this effort is that the CNCF, the executive directors of the CNCF will, I've done a lot of work with them on the CNCF landscape, which no doubt all of you are familiar with, and no doubt which either causes some of you pain or maybe helps some of you, I don't know. But that landscape doesn't necessarily go deep on service mesh. And so others in the CNCF will occasionally point people here. There's going to be a new version of this landscape, hopefully next week, which will be a lot more informative. But the point of me bringing it up right now is to say that today, the landscape identifies which service meshes are compatible with SMI. And it's just a static set of info that actually is like totally wrong. Very few of these meshes actually are compatible anymore. It's the spec moves around, the implementations don't keep up. This tool will help, those results that Abhishek was showing, those results will automatically be published here. Each of the service meshes will then be they'll be on a path to running Meshery in their build and release process, because for two reasons, really. One, so that they can run their own set of tests each time that they're making a release to verify their compatibility with SMI. The provenance of those tests will be verified so that someone isn't, faking their test results. And then published here, we will probably also publish them on smispec.io. The second reason that those service meshes will run Meshery in their release process is because, well, soon, hopefully, SMP will be a standard, or quote unquote standard. Just in the same fashion that SMI is, SMP will be a way of universally measuring your or a given service mesh's performance. And so each of the service mesh projects that I've spoken to, which is a lot, or all of them actually, is have agreed to have either been really interested in this and participating. Each of them at some point have agreed to go ahead and run Meshery as part of their release process so that they can answer one of the more prominently asked questions by adopters, which is, hey, what's the overhead of the what's the overhead of the mesh, or sort of, and that's to ad lib to comment on that for a second. It's a good question to ask. What's the overhead of the mesh? It's also one of those things that needs to be considered in context of the value that the mesh is providing. So it's one thing to say, well, the overhead here is X number of milliseconds of latency, some additional memory and CPU or what have you. And it actually takes a little while to explain all that. And it's kind of a lot for someone to digest, assuming that their environment looks anything like the tests that are being talked about. That's why we want to create Meshmark as a simple way of referring to how it is that a mesh is performing. So I'm excited about this. I don't know that we've got all of our ducks in a row necessarily to make an announcement at KubeCon next week. Maybe we'll work with Google and HashiCorp to see if they're ready. But yeah, long story short, those service meshes should be have ample justification for running Meshery in their build and release process for a couple of reasons. That design spec that we were just looking at is linked now in the meeting minutes. So Abhishek knocked out kind of 2 demos, I think, at once, which is pretty neat. So he demoed kind of for the first time on this call the OS Open Service Mesh adapter, installing, standing up OSM. He then demoed deploying a sample app on it and then running, having Meshery run the suite of SMI conformance tests against it. So who has questions on this? Who has comments on the body of work that's been done here, or feedback for Abhishek on his demo? Since we all know that I can't type and talk at the same time, I'm intentionally leaving the quiet there to, let me ask this, anybody think that the SMI as a set of specifications is kind of a waste of time, or that it has teeth or doesn't? I won't express opinion one way or the next, other than to just state a couple of facts, and that is that this service mesh was just announced, and it's really its API is based on SMI, which makes a lot of sense since Microsoft is behind both of those initiatives. The other statement I'll make is that in September we will see another service mesh announced fairly prominently. And its API will be based on SMI. So there's credence being given to the spec each time that someone implements SMI. And in the case of OS Open Service Mesh and the one that's to be announced in September, SMI is the only API that they have, which I think also speaks sort of to at least to how those teams think of the spec. Nice. All right. Well, we have either 10 more minutes to talk about another topic, or 10 minutes to get back to everyone. We're all about paying it forward in this community, by the way.
I just had to say something. Is it something with the means on the in the KubeCon, the new site, the SMP spec are you going to showcase something on that site? Because one or two things I guess we should address it the issues on that side before the KubeCon so that it would make a better impression. One thing would be the image, the main image beneath the nav menu. It's a bit is not completely for the whole background. It's a bit chopped out, so it looks a bit odd at the top, head of the site.
And which part of the site again?
Just a second, I'll share my screen.
I think he means the planet image, the SVG.
Yeah, 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 sure.
Oh. Yeah, there's a slight difference in coloration between the nav menu and the feature image, the hero image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of so it looks a bit odd. So we can do one thing to compensate that. We can match the color of the image with the nav to the header to more
Yeah.
means
Yeah, and actually yeah, it's a good call out. That image of the globe with the floating, we have that vector image as well, so we can go in there and change out the actually I worked on the gradient in that thing, and I guess I thought that I had set it such that it would anyway.
I was just saying that if this site is gonna be on presentation on the KubeCon, then I guess we should address these issues first so that
Right.
it looks better. And the other one is the block part. This modal thing,
That
I
needs to
guess
go away.
this
That's horrible.
site had something like that.
Yeah,
It
Nikhil,
shows it.
thanks for pointing that out. Actually, that's an open issue that anyone here is welcome to pick up. This site is based on Jekyll. There's a blog collection, a Jekyll collection, that when you click on the link, it'll bring up the modal that you just showed, which actually doesn't work it's not good. It's not how we just need to bring people to another page that shows them the post. We shouldn't be showing it to them in a modal.
Also, the feature image over here and the one on the home page is different. Something with the cranes and over here it's the actual image, I guess, of the mission. So if it's of urgency, then we can sort it out by this weekend. Yes, I will try to make the PS for it.
Please, yeah. The SVG for that, the vector image for that planet, it should be in the team drive, the shared team drive.
Okay. I will look for it. If not, I will think and check.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for calling that out, Nikhil. Because as soon as if we actually do make a public announcement about SMP, yeah, it'll be the site itself still needs a little bit of love and care to make it, slightly more, formal, official, good looking.
Yeah.
Nice. What else do we have? Does anybody have any other items? Maybe just a random item here. I might go be social about this same statement, but I would say that one of the things that makes me busier than I would like to be, and actually this is why I'm bringing it up, because to the extent that this is a point of interest for any of you, come and help, and I'll put your name in a book. This book is sort of the next area of focus for me in writing, service mesh patterns with O'Reilly. And good God, there's any number of patterns. and documenting them and writing hopefully something of a seminal book on the topic is more than my little brain can handle. So if kind of a call, I'm probably going to make a public call for people who have patterns that they want to share or, contribute within here. So if you know anybody, if you know anybody, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, what else? I'm pretty pumped about that. We're gonna have to go get loud about the open service mesh adapter. That's pretty cool. Pretty quick turnaround by the community here. So I know Lockie Evanson was coming out of his chair last time we met. He was pretty excited. So he had to come out of his chair after he kind of took the knife out of Linkerty's back, and then. I don't know. Anyway, just apologies for the random commentary. It's just a lot of positioning in service mesh land. There's like 20 something of them. So turns out hopefully, part of the vision around Meshery and helping people adopt service meshes, because there's going to be a bunch of them and they're going to consolidate, but that they will be somewhat ubiquitous. I'm hoping that any of you that are putting in time here get some recognition for what you do. So,
Eli, a quick question.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of NSO, the Network Services Orchestrator?
Yeah.
And do you think there is a role to play where NSO kind of with service meshes?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me be a pedant and draw and try to characterize a thin line between SDN as we know that term, and service mesh land, because they're really aimed at a lot of the same similar things. If I can, and don't let me please argue this with me, or please tell me you see it differently. In general, I think that the thing that you're suggesting, Bhuvnesh, is this is a good thought, and this is that the answer is yes, that service meshes oftentimes are considered in context of people that are doing cloudy things, people that are running multiple services, and that's where a lot of times service meshes will get their start. But it's very true that service meshes can be used to help up level or modernize existing workloads as well. So non-microservice things, non-containerized things. It's also very true that service meshes have a strong role to play on the edge. And David and I we were about to talk about Cloudflare workers, of which I have some familiarity with, and part of their edge use cases around. And anyway, there's a lot of things to do with service mesh for the edge. I don't know that everyone often thinks about service mesh in that way, but very much so controlling the network becomes even more important when you're dealing with remote, when you're dealing with the WAN, with the internet. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is there's a number of vendors, of which I don't know that anyone here IoT, yeah, totally, and the protocols too that are there. Just really, I'm super interested to see some of the network filters for some of the IoT specific protocols. As a matter of fact, we had a presentation on that in the CNCF SIG network not too long ago. If anyone reminds me, I'll as a matter of fact, it's just up on the github.com/cncf/SIG network. There's a startup founder that had presented about 2 months ago on the state of other protocols, outside of just sort of HTTP, and a lot of it was in context of IoT. What I was trying to say is that SDN has been sort of historically for IT and to help speed them up and help them provide programmatic control over network infrastructure as someone runs a corporation, an organization, whereas service meshes have been a bit more for the mode, if I can borrow from Gartner and say sort of the mode 2 for the developer, if you will. That they're solving for a lot of the same challenges around programmatically configuring networks, doing service discovery and other things, providing all kinds of network services. But the persona that they're going after and the way in which it's done is, anyway, I'm excited to consider that maybe in a few years, part of service mesh, like Envoy specific, like if you consider that something like NSO, network service. This network service orchestrator is the acronym, right?
Right. Yeah.
If I recall, it's sort of born of Cisco and was, I don't know if that was part of the Tailfeather
Yes. Yeah.
acquisition,
Yeah.
But so it's sort of baked in like TailF rather. It's baked in like Yang and which is good for the manipulation and management of hardware-based network appliances.
Right.
Which is really interesting. It's like the same use cases. Like, hey, how do you programmatically handle configuration management of a large number of disparate types of physical routers and switches and network appliances? And you think about it, like you can characterize a service mesh as, what's a service mesh? Well, or what's a control plane? Well, it's configuration management for the data plane for proxies. That's certainly one of its bigger jobs. Like the parallel there is like identical. It's the same paradigm. And so it would be nice if these two worlds kind of came together a little bit. I think the way in which it's possible for them to, and it would be a couple of years, is the likes of Dell, HP, Cisco, and others taking Envoy and putting it. So this wouldn't really happen with Cisco, but with Dell, like using Envoy or using the Universal Data Plane API as running it on their white box or on their switches. And if they're bringing Envoy to their switches, then the world between SDN and sort of next gen SDN and service mesh land, then they would kind of marry up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Bhuvnesh. I don't know that anyone. I just signed on to a technical advisory board at Cisco this last week, and so they're speaking of this conversation. I'll tell you that there's a new product in the works. But I'll leave it at that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Thank you. Well, we're 3 after. I know for some of us that means that we're 3 minutes late to the next call. So, Karen, thank you for coming. By the way, we will get the link to the meeting minutes to you, and then we'll catch you on the next one. But, so fair enough. All right, good. I could talk on this stuff all day, so I'm gonna stop there and say very nice to see everyone. See you on the next call.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hey.